The underestimated species, the great halls of the Galactic Alliance, station ECT with worried voices. Representatives from dozens of alien species gathered around the central holographic display, their faces showing fear and uncertainty. The image floating before them showed the massive Krex Empire fleet, thousands of warships moving like a dark cloud across the stars. Admiral Sarah Chen stood quietly in the corner, watching the alien delegates argue among themselves. She was a small woman by human standards, with graying hair and tired eyes. But there was something in her posture that spoke of hidden strength. For 15 years, she had served as humanity's chief military representative to the Alliance, and for 15 years, she had watched the other species treat humans like children. The Altarian delegate, a tall blue creature with multiple arms, waved frantically at the display. The Krex Empire has never been defeated in battle. Their ships are 3 times larger than ours. Their weapons can destroy entire planets, and their soldiers are bred for war. We must surrender immediately. Surrender. The Centauri representative, a being that looked like a walking tree, creaked with displeasure. We are the Galactic Alliance. We have protected peace for 1,000 years. Peace that is about to end, said Ambassador Zex, the Alliance's chief diplomat. The small, grey alien looked exhausted. The Krex Empire has given us 72 hours to evacuate all human colonies in the Outer Rim. If we refuse, they will destroy them all. Sarah stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. And what does the Alliance plan to do about this threat? The room fell silent. Ambassador Zex looked uncomfortable. Admiral Chen, we have reviewed the military capabilities of all member species. The Krex Empire's fleet is simply too powerful. The Alliance Council has voted to withdraw our protection from human space. Sarah felt a cold anger building in her chest, but her face remained calm. You're abandoning us. We are making a strategic decision, the Altarian delegate said quickly. Humanity joined the Alliance only 50 years ago. You are still a young species, not yet ready for this kind of conflict. It is better to sacrifice a few to save the many. A few. Sarah's voice was dangerously quiet. You're talking about 200 million human lives. The Centauri representative rustled his leaves apologetically. Admiral Chen, please understand. Humans are brave, but your military technology is centuries behind the major powers. Your ships are small, your weapons are primitive, and your tactics are ... unconventional. Against the Krex Empire, you would be slaughtered. Sarah looked round the room at the aliens who had been her colleagues for so many years. None of them would meet her eyes. So that's it. Humanity stands alone. I'm sorry, Ambassador, Zex said softly, but yes. Sarah nodded slowly, then turned and walked toward the exit. As she reached the door, she paused. You know, Ambassador Zex, you're right about one thing. Human tactics are unconventional. You might want to remember that. 3 hours later, Sarah stood in the command center of the human military facility hidden deep within Earth's moon. The room was filled with screens showing human ships across the galaxy, all waiting for her orders. Dr. Elena Vasquez, her chief technology officer, approached with a tablet in her hands. Admiral, all Prometheus-class vessels are ready for deployment. The crews are asking when they can reveal themselves. Sarah studied the data on the tablet. For 20 years, humanity had been secretly building a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. While the aliens saw primitive human ships and dismissed them as inferior. The real human military had been hidden, growing stronger with each passing year. Dr. Vasquez, how long until the Krex fleet reaches our first colony? 68 hours, Admiral. They're moving faster than expected. Sarah activated her communicator. This is Admiral Chen to all human commanders. Operation Prometheus is now active. Show them what we're really capable of. Across the galaxy, Captain Marcus Rivera received a message aboard his ship, the USS Resilience. To any alien observer, the Resilience looked like a typical human vessel, small and unremarkable. But Marcus knew better. Hidden beneath the ship's ordinary exterior were weapons and systems that represented the pinnacle of human engineering. All hands, this is the captain, Marcus announced to his crew. For 20 years, we've pretended to be weak. Today, we stop pretending. The ship's hull began to shift and change. Hidden panels opened, revealing advanced weapons systems. The old-looking engines were replaced by drives that could move the ship faster than anything in the known galaxy. Within minutes, the USS Resilience had transformed from a simple patrol vessel into a technological marvel. Lieutenant Commander Jessica Park, Marcus's tactical officer, looked up from her console with excitement. Captain, all systems are green. The AI combat network is online and ready. Good, Marcus replied. Set course for the Proxima colony. It's time to give the Krex Empire a welcome they'll never forget. The Krex Empire fleet moved through space, like a force of nature. Their ships were massive, each one capable of destroying a planet. General Thrak, the fleet commander, stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator. He was a giant, even by Krex standards, with thick armor plating and glowing red eyes. General, his aide reported, we are approaching the first human colony. Long-range sensors show only a few small ships defending it. Thrak laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Humans, the Alliance has abandoned them, and they think they can fight us with their toy ships. This will be over quickly. The Krex fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Proxima Colony, their weapons charging for the attack. The human settlement was small, home to only 50,000 people, but they had refused to evacuate. General Thrak respected that kind of courage, even if it was foolish. Sir, his weapons officer called out, we're detecting 3 human ships approaching. They appear to be wheat. That's strange. What is it? Thrak demanded. The ships are changing, sir. They're not what they appeared to be. On the main screen, Thrak watched as the 3 small human vessels transformed before his eyes. Hidden weapons emerged from their hulls. New armor plating slid into place. And suddenly, the ships looked far more dangerous than they had moments before. Impossible, Thrak whispered. The humans don't have that kind of technology. Captain Marcus Rivera's voice came over the communication system, clear and confident. General Thrak, this is Captain Rivera of the USS Resilience. You have entered human space without permission. You have 60 seconds to withdraw, or we will engage. Thrak's officers looked at him in shock. A human captain was threatening the Krex Empire. The idea was absurd. Captain Rivera, Thrak replied, you face a fleet of 500 warships. You have 3 small vessels. Are you insane? No, General. I'm human. There's a difference. The battle began without warning. The 3 human ships moved unlike anything the Krex had ever seen. Instead of flying in formation like civilized military vessels, they scattered in different directions, their movements unpredictable and chaotic. What are they doing? Thrak demanded. This is not how space battles are fought. His tactical officer, A young Krex named Vex studied the screens in confusion. "Sir, they're not following any known military doctrine. Their attack patterns are ... random." But the patterns weren't random at all. The human ships were using advanced AI systems that could predict and counter Krex tactics in real time. Every time the Krex fleet tried to target them, the human vessels were already moving to a new position. The USS Resilience fired its main weapon, but not at the Krex ships. Instead, it targeted a small asteroid nearby, shattering it into thousands of pieces. The fragments flew toward the Krex fleet, and their shields, designed to stop energy weapons, were useless against physical projectiles. "Shields down on decks 4 through 7. A Krex officer reported. "How did they know our shields couldn't stop debris?" Captain Rivera smiled grimly. "Because we've been watching you for 20 years, General. We know exactly how your technology works." The second human ship, commanded by Captain Lisa Wong, used a different tactic. Her vessel fired a spread of small missiles that seemed to miss their targets completely. The Krex officers laughed until they realized the missiles were circling around, coming at them from behind. "Impossible," Thrak roared. "Missiles cannot change direction like that." "Krex missiles can't," Captain Wang replied over the communication system. "Human missiles can." The third ship, under Captain David Kim, did something even more unexpected. Instead of firing weapons, it began transmitting a signal that interfered with the Krex communication systems. Suddenly, the massive fleet found itself unable to coordinate their attacks. "Sir," Vex reported, "we're losing contact with the other ships. Something is jamming our communications." Thrak stared at the screens in disbelief. 3 human ships were somehow holding their own against his entire fleet. It was impossible, but it was happening. Back on the Alliance station, the alien delegates watched the battle with growing amazement. The human ships moved like living things, adapting to every Krex tactic and finding new ways to fight back. "This is impossible," the Altarian delegate whispered. "How are they doing this, Ambassador?" Zek studied the tactical displays with new respect. "Perhaps we underestimated humanity." The battle continued for 3 hours, and slowly, the impossible began to happen. The mighty Krex fleet, which had never been defeated, was being pushed back by 3 human ships. General Thrak watched in horror as his vessels were disabled one by one. "Sir," Vex said quietly, "perhaps we should consider retreat." Thrak looked at his aide with fury. "The Krex Empire does not retreat. The Krex Empire has never faced humans before," Vex replied. As the first day of the conflict ended, news of the battle spread across the galaxy. The species that had been dismissed as primitive and weak had just achieved the impossible. They had fought the Krex Empire and won. But this was only the beginning. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in her command center, watching reports from battles across human space. Every engagement told the same story. Human forces were not just surviving, they were winning. "Dr. Vasquez," she said, "activate Phase 2 of Operation Prometheus. It's time to show the galaxy what humans can really do." The war that was supposed to end in humanity's destruction had become something else entirely. It had become the moment when the galaxy learned that humans were not the weak species they appeared to be. They were something far more dangerous. They were survivors, innovators, and fighters who never gave up, and they were just getting started. The revelation of human warfare, the second phase of Operation Prometheus, began with a revelation that shook the galaxy to its core. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display in her command center, watching as human fleets across the galaxy revealed their true nature. Ships that had appeared outdated and weak were transforming into technological marvels that surpassed anything the major powers possessed. Admiral Dr. Elena Vasquez reported, "All stealth systems are offline. Every human vessel in the galaxy is now showing its true capabilities." Sarah nodded grimly. "Good, we're done hiding." On the Alliance station, the alien delegates stared, in shock at the tactical displays, where once they had seen a scattered collection of primitive human ships. They now observed a coordinated fleet of advanced vessels unlike anything in their databases. "This is impossible," the Altarian delegates stammered. "Where did these ships come from?" Ambassador Zex's face was pale with realization. They were there all along, hidden in plain sight. The transformation was happening everywhere. "Captain." Marcus Rivera watched from the bridge of the USS Resilience, as human ships throughout the sector revealed their hidden capabilities. The small patrol vessel commanded by his friend, Captain Torres, suddenly sprouted weapon systems that dwarfed anything on Krek's warships. The merchant vessel from the Vega system unfolded into a massive carrier bristling with fighter squadrons. "My God," Lieutenant Commander Park whispered. "How long have we been preparing for this?" 20 years, Marcus replied. "Ever since we joined the Alliance and realized we were considered the weakest species in the galaxy. The psychological impact on the Krek's empire was immediate and devastating." General Thrak, still reeling from his defeat at Proxima Colony, received reports that defied all logic. Human forces were appearing throughout Krek's space, striking at military installations with precision and coordination that suggested years of planning. Sir Vex reported, his voice shaking. "We're receiving battle reports from 15 different systems. Human forces are attacking our supply depots, communication arrays, and fleet bases simultaneously." Thrak's massive claws gripped the edge of his command console. "How many ships do they have?" "We don't know, sir. Our intelligence suggested they had perhaps 200 vessels. We're now tracking over 3,000. The truth was even more shocking. Humanity hadn't just been hiding ships. They had been hiding an entire military doctrine. While the galaxy's major powers fought traditional wars with massive fleets meeting in open space, humans had developed something entirely different: asymmetric warfare on a galactic scale. Captain Lisa Wong led a squadron of human vessels in a strike against a Krek's supply depot. Her ships didn't announce themselves or demand surrender like civilized military forces. Instead, they appeared from hyperspace, destroyed their targets with surgical precision, and vanished before the Kreks could respond. "Target eliminated," she reported to Admiral Chen. "No casualties on our side." This was happening across 100 systems. Human forces struck like lightning, hitting critical infrastructure while avoiding direct confrontation with the main Kreks fleet. It was a type of warfare that the galaxy had never seen before, and the Kreks Empire had no idea how to counter it. Dr. Vasquez's greatest creation was the AI network that coordinated human forces. Unlike the rigid command structures used by alien militaries, the human fleet operated like a living organism. Each ship's AI could communicate with others instantaneously, sharing information and adapting tactics in real time. "The beauty of it," she explained to Admiral Chen, "is that we're not fighting like a traditional military. We're fighting like a swarm intelligence. Each ship knows what every other ship is doing, and they can adapt to any situation without waiting for orders." The Kreks Empire's Supreme Commander, Overlord Kravix, watched his military reports with growing horror. His forces controlled the most powerful fleet in the galaxy, but they were being systematically dismantled by an enemy that refused to fight fair. "They're not warriors," he snarled to his advisors. "They're parasites, striking from the shadows and running before we can respond." His chief strategist, General Vorth, studied the tactical displays with professional admiration. "Sir, with respect, what they're doing is brilliant. They've identified our weaknesses and are exploiting them perfectly." "Weaknesses?" Kravix roared. "We have the most powerful military in the galaxy." "Yes, sir. But power means nothing if you can't apply it. They're making us fight on their terms, not ours." The turning point came when Captain David Kim led a daring assault on the Krex Empire's primary communications hub. The facility was protected by a massive space station and a fleet of Guardian vessels. But the humans didn't attack it directly. Instead, they used a tactic that no alien military had ever considered. "All ships, begin quantum jamming," Kim ordered. "Target their command and control systems." The human vessels didn't fire weapons at the Krex station. Instead, they transmitted a complex signal that interfered with the quantum communications network the Krex used to coordinate their empire. Within minutes, the entire Krex military found itself unable to communicate with its forces. "Sir," Vex reported to General Thrak, "we've lost contact with High Command. All long-range communications are down." Thrak stared at his screens in disbelief. "How is that possible?" "The humans have somehow disrupted our quantum network. Every ship, every base, every commander is now isolated." Asterisk, for the first time in their history, the Krex Empire found themselves fighting blind. Their massive fleets, designed to crush enemies through overwhelming firepower, were reduced to scattered groups of ships with no coordination or central command. The galaxy watched in amazement as humanity's true military capabilities were revealed. The species that had been dismissed as primitive, newcomers had developed technology that surpassed even the oldest civilizations. More importantly, they had developed a way of thinking about warfare that was completely alien to the established powers. Ambassador Zex stood before the Alliance Council, his voice heavy with the weight of his words. "We have made a grave error. We assumed that because humans were different, they were weak. We now see that their differences were actually advantages." The Altarian delegates' multiple arms waved frantically. "But how? How did they advance so quickly? They've only been in space for a few centuries." "Perhaps," the Centauri representative suggested, "that's exactly why they succeeded. They weren't bound by thousands of years of military tradition. They could think in ways we never considered." The final battle took place in the Krex home system, where Overlord Kravix had gathered the remnants of his fleet for a last desperate stand. He commanded over 1,000 ships, each one a technological marvel capable of destroying planets. Against him came 50 human vessels, led by Admiral Chen herself aboard the flagship US Prometheus. "Admiral," Captain Rivera's voice came over. "The communication system, are you sure about this? We're outnumbered 20-1. Sarah Chen smiled grimly. "Marcus, in human history, being outnumbered has never stopped us before. Why should it stop us now?" The battle began with the Krex fleet advancing in perfect formation, their weapons charging for a devastating volley. But the human ships scattered like leaves in the wind, their movements so unpredictable that the Krex targeting systems couldn't lock onto them. "What are they doing?" Kravix demanded. "This is chaos." "No, sir," General Vorth replied quietly. "This is how humans fight." The human vessels moved like a school of fish, each ship knowing exactly where the others would be without any apparent communication. They struck at the Krek's fleet from every angle, their weapons targeting systems that the aliens had never thought to protect. Dr. Vasquez's AI network reached its full potential during the battle. The human ships fought as one organism, sharing information and coordinating attacks with perfect precision. Every time the Kreks tried to adapt to their tactics, the AI evolved new strategies faster than the aliens could respond. "Sir," Vex reported to Thrak, "they're not just fighting us, they're learning from us. Every time we change our tactics, they find a counter-move within seconds." The battle raged for 6 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Krek's Empire's greatest fleet was systematically dismantled by human forces that fought like nothing they had ever encountered. Ship after ship was disabled or destroyed, their crews evacuated by human vessels that showed mercy even in victory when it was over. Overlord Kravix found himself aboard the UES Prometheus, facing Admiral Chen across a conference table. The massive Krek's leader looked smaller somehow, his arrogance replaced by something like respect. "How?" he asked simply. "How did you do it?" Sarah Chen leaned back in her chair. "Because we're human, Overlord. We adapt, we improvise, we never give up, and most importantly, we never fight fair when our survival is at stake." The war that was supposed to end in humanity's destruction instead ended with the galaxy's most powerful empire signing a peace treaty. The Krek's empire would withdraw from all human space and recognize humanity's right to exist as an independent power. But the real victory was something else entirely. The galaxy had learned that humanity was not the weak species they appeared to be. They were survivors who had turned their apparent disadvantages into strengths. Ambassador Zex stood before the Alliance Council one final time, his words carrying the weight of history. "We have learned something important today. We assumed that because humans were different, they were inferior. We now know that their differences made them superior in ways we never imagined." The Altarian delegate spoke quietly. "What do we do now?" "We welcome humanity as an equal partner in the Alliance," Zex replied, "and we pray that they never have to show us their full capabilities again." Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the UES Prometheus, looking out at the stars. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. They had learned that humans were not just another species to be protected or dismissed. They were something far more dangerous and far more valuable. They were innovators, survivors, and the guardians of their own destiny. Captain Rivera joined her at the window. "Admiral, what happens now?" Sarah smiled. "Now we build, we explore, we continue to be human, and if anyone threatens our people again, we'll remind them why that's a very bad idea." The galaxy had witnessed the moment when humans proved their military supremacy, but more than that, they had witnessed the moment when humanity claimed their place among the stars, not as subjects or junior partners, but as equals who had earned their position through courage, ingenuity, and the indomitable human spirit. The war was over, but the legend of humanity's triumph had just begun.